What's up, team? Welcome to the raw, unfiltered daily update of how things are going in Bali with less than 60 days in order to make some cash. And for the last few days, for the last week, I have been feeling unhappy. And I'm going to explain why in a second. But today I feel on top of the world. And funnily enough, I had a conversation with two friends today over voice note. Well, one was over the phone and one was over the voice note, and both of them, and they don't know that they both said this, but they both said that you sound happy. And I'm going to be talking about what that means in a second and how that impacts your life, because the fact that I sounded happy actually is really interesting and something I would like to explore in this video. But I want to show you how I managed to transform my mental state within a day, and it was actually quite simple. So for the last 10 days or so, I feel like I've been feeling, I guess, less happy than usual. I don't wake up feeling super excited. I don't feel like my life has any meaning, and that sounds kind of extreme, but that's exactly the thoughts that were going through my head. In fact, I don't even think it was thoughts through my head. I think it was just a general feeling of like lowness, and I didn't really tell anyone about it because I tend to suffer in silence in some ways, and I use the word suffer, and that's an extreme word. And like, I have everything. I have food on the table, I have a nice place, I have a great family, but there was still this, I guess, emotional turmoil that I was putting myself through. And I think often people do go through this turmoil, and yeah, on the outside everything might seem okay, but on the inside it's not the same. And I guess that's the first point, where it doesn't matter what's on the outside. What matters is what's going on inside this noggin. And if we can shift what's going on inside this noggin, I love that word, but if we can shift what's going on inside here, then we can actually change our experience, our lived experience of this world. And anyway, I'd applied for this job, and I'd put in a lot of effort for this application. Like, I was telling my friend about it earlier and he didn't quite understand. He was like, yeah, it's just an application, it doesn't matter. But for me, like, I don't apply to jobs very often, like actual jobs. Like, I've been fired twice. I've had six different corporate jobs. Like, I kind of lost hope in being employed a few years ago. And then I had this like spurt of hope. I was like, I don't know, maybe there's this company that can really learn a lot and it will understand me and I'll be able to thrive and whatever. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go all in. And so I hired a video editor. I created a video. I spent a month going back and forth with the editor. I sent the video not only to the CEO of the company, but to like all of their directors. I even had a response from the director. I had a call with them. I moved forward. I had a email exchange with the hiring manager. And so things were moving in the way that I wanted them to move. And my expectation became at that point that I was going to progress further. But then it's been radio silence. I haven't heard anything. I've sent a couple emails, but I haven't had a response. And it's made me think that, or it's made me feel like, oh, maybe I am not going to get this job, or maybe I'm not going to get a response from them, or maybe I haven't done as well as I thought, and whatever. All these thoughts and all these emotions have started to come up, and basically reality has not turned out or panned out the way that I wanted it to pan out. My expectations were here, my reality was here, and I said this in a previous video, but that was what was probably causing this low mood. And I wasn't being as productive as I wanted to be. I knew in my head that I wanted to be working, but I didn't know what to work on, because this was the goal. This was the thing that I was striving for, and it didn't turn out the way that it turned out. And so what happened was, I then felt even lower. I started to look at my phone, I started to scroll, I started to go through YouTube rabbit holes, I started to do all these things. And it was almost as if, because I failed in that sense, I failed in this area, I let it derail everything else. And because I wasn't being productive and focusing on the things that I was meant to be focusing on, I let that make me feel worse about what I was doing. And I think that actually made it worse. And I feel like if I just gave myself a day or two just to process the emotions and not try and drive myself into a wall and do more, then maybe I would have recovered quicker. And I think this is where we get taught when we grow up to grip tightly. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. But like when we grow up, there's this like hustle porn star culture. There's like all this thing of being busy people, successful people, and like do more, take action. All this stuff is like we consume all this information. And yes, sometimes that is the right advice. But sometimes actually it's more important to do less and let go. And important to be like nature. And the reason why I say that is because I was on the treadmill earlier and I was listening to this awesome podcast by this guy called Tom Spark. And I like his podcast because it's a business podcast. He talks to business people, but he goes at it from a bit more of a woo-woo standpoint, a woo-woo perspective. And he talks about vibrations and frequency and peace and purpose. And he goes at it in a more abstract, spiritual way. And I really, really like that because it allows me to think about these things a little bit more. And he was asking this guy, and this other guy is this agency owner, earns shitloads of money, built this business. And he was asking him and the guy basically, the agency owner was talking about how he actually spends a lot of time in nature. And on the weekend, he'll go kayaking or go hiking and he'll do these outdoor activities. And one of the questions he asked is, what role does nature play in your life versus the digital world that your business is in? Like, how does it make you feel? How does it impact your life? Like, what is some of the world missing from not being like immersed in nature a lot of the time? And as they were talking about nature, it made me think, and it was like, nature doesn't stop, but nature will keep changing. It'll keep evolving. And it will do unexpected things sometimes. Like the other day, I was in Bali and my room, this room that I'm sitting in right now, started shaking. And my friend, my housemate George, he came down, he knocked on the door and he was like, "Did you hear that?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like, what was that? And he was like, "It was an earthquake." And I was like, "What?" And this is the point. Nature will do what the fuck it wants. And the world will just respond in this like flowy state. Sometimes a tree will fall over, the wind will flow and like branches will rustle and then it will stop and it'll be really sunny. And like you'll see it in Bali, 1 minute it will be really sunny and the next minute it will be raining. And nature doesn't give a fuck. Nature will just continue flowing. Just like a river flows and it goes in its own path. And I think today it's made me really reflect on, actually I feel the happiest. And this is the point where I'm just in this like flow state and I'm kind of gliding through life. And yes, I'm being productive, I'm being creative, I'm working on the things that are meaningful to me and I'm adding value to society because that does make me feel good. But I'm not doing it in this way where like I'm doing it for the sake of something material or I'm doing it for the sake of something outside of me in this world. And I think when I put this pressure on myself, like I need to do this for money or I need to do this because I'm not being productive, I'm doing this from a state of scarcity and lack, it makes me feel even worse. Whereas when I am in this flowy state where I'm just like gliding through life, it does make me feel a lot better. And I guess that is one way that I think you can achieve happiness, because what that really is peace. It's peace and it's being present. And being present is the opposite of, I guess, gripping tightly and waiting for something. Because if you're waiting for something, you're thinking about the future for something that hasn't happened and something that does not exist. And that means that you're not fully here and being grateful. And we all know that, and I talked about this yesterday, but actually being grateful for what you have and the opportunities that you're able to live is one way to be happy. Then actually it's about sometimes doing less so that you can be present in the feelings that you're feeling. And I don't think there's anything wrong with me feeling emotional or feeling like I've failed or whatever baggage that comes with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it's just accepting that and then sitting with it and being like, okay, cool, I'm feeling this way. Maybe I can just go for a walk and let the emotions dissolve naturally rather than trying to drive into the wall and be like, okay, I'm going to fucking ram this emotion out of me. by doing more. And then when I don't feel like doing more, I feel bad about not doing more. And it's this like vicious cycle of not being the person that I want to be. But actually, I can just sit with the failure, accept it, and then move on and get to this state that I'm in right now a lot faster because I've given myself the time to chill. And so, yeah, if you're feeling like unhappy or feeling like you're frustrated or you're lacking something right now, or you feel you're just recovering from a failure, then I think just allow yourself the time to grieve it. Allow yourself some space to just accept and acknowledge the failure that you've experienced. And when you have that space, you will come back a lot faster. And when you do come back, you might even come back stronger. That failure might end up defining your success. And again, I think the last point that I want to make is that, and it's something I've been thinking about today, is that like, and I've been literally I said it on the phone to my brother earlier today, and I was like, yeah, like if they don't give me the job, or if they don't give me an opportunity to interview, then they're like kind of idiots. And I don't mean that in an insulting sense, but it's this idea that win or loss, I'm the better player. And I think that's such a great point, because that failure does not define me. I'm enough being who I am without the job, without anything exterior. And I think reminding myself of that means that I don't need to strive for something fake and material in order to feel good. And I can just feel good in existence of myself. And as a result, allow my work to then be a byproduct of that existence. So yeah, if you're feeling unhappy, I hope that helps. To be honest, I think I'm going to hold this here, but I think that was I think I conveyed that in a okay way. But I think from tomorrow I'm going to put a little bit more effort into, I guess, scripting the story and trying to convey this point in a clearer way, because I think what I'm trying to say is actually quite powerful, but I think I could have delivered it better. So that's the task for tomorrow. But yeah, I'm really enjoying these videos. Like I've done seven videos in 7 days or something. And yeah, man, like I can't wait to see how this progresses. But yeah, thank you for watching and catch you tomorrow. Peace.